I don't remember when, but a long time ago, maybe like 2, 3 years ago, when I first started reading like self improvement books and stuff. I remember the first thing was like, you need to take accountability for everything. And at first, when I read it, I was like, I mean, some things are my fault, but most things aren't. This and that, right? You know, the typical mindset you have. And once I started reading the chapter, and you read other self improvement books, and they're all repeating the same things, and they give different examples, and it starts adding up. And like sometimes you might tell, like sometimes it's hard to interpret what they mean. Like I remember reading it in the book. It was like, if you are walking on the road and you get hit by a car, it's your fault. And you're like, what the hell? No, how can that be my fault? Somebody hit me. It's like, even if it wasn't your fault, you should still take accountability for it, because it's like, this in that case scenario, were you paying attention to the road? Could you have not walked on that road at that exact moment where the car was coming? Could you have got out of the way? Could you have made some sort of signal, or whatever, right? It doesn't even matter. But the point is, like, once you take accountability for things, you realize that it's your fault. And if you take the fault for it, then you will improve based upon it, right? So, like, say you got hit by the car, maybe you don't get injured, whatever the case may be, right? The next time you're gonna not cross the road the same way you did, maybe you were on your phone, maybe you're a little bit distracted, maybe you're listening to music, right? Next time around, you're not gonna be listening to music, you're not gonna check your phone, you might be a little bit more cautious. And that's like that's the improvement aspect of taking the accountability. But if you were like, oh my God, that driver sucked, this road is horrible, I got hit and this shit sucks, it's like, now what? You blame the external environment and now you didn't change. And then when it happens again, you're gonna be like, oh my God, how can this have happened to me twice? It's like, because you didn't improve. This shit happened to you, and instead of taking the accountability and changing for the better, you blame the world. And if it happens again, what you're gonna blame? Now you're noticing a pattern, and you were involved in both scenarios, so it's obviously something involved with you. So you could, if you just changed the first time around, you would have improved and not have happened the second time. It's like, so another example is like, if you take a test, right, and you fail, and you're like, oh my God, this teacher sucks, they didn't teach me nothing. Everybody in the class probably failed, the test was too hard, right? You blame everything else, all the external environment, right? The test was too hard, the teacher sucked, everybody probably sucked, right? Everybody probably failed. Next test comes around, you know you need to pass, and you fail again. And you were like, how could this have happened again? The teacher sucks so badly, this and that. And then like, you actually ask around and you're like, oh, so some other people, if even one person just passed, that means your whole theory on why you failed is completely out the thing. Because if that person passed, that means your teacher wasn't that bad. If multiple people passed, you definitely were the problem and not your teacher and not the test and not all this extra bullshit, right? But if you took that first test and failed and said, okay, this is my fault, I need to study more, I need to pay attention more. And when the next test came around, you would have studied a lot more, because you would have remembered, oh, I failed that first one. When the teacher was teaching the lessons, you would have paid attention a little bit more. And when you actually passed that test, because now you put in the right inputs for the outcome, you would have passed the test. So it's like, you need to take accountability for everything. And along with this, I've learned that everything that you tell yourself in your head for reasons why you shouldn't do something, or it's too hard, everything's an excuse. And if you live a life of excuses, you're never gonna be successful, right? The most successful people look way past excuses. They do things regardless of how they feel, how emotionally they are, like everything. They do very rational, logical things, right? So they take emotion out of the equation, and doing this means you have no excuses. And like, the accountability thing, I think I'm getting pretty good at, right? Because I've been trying to like have that mindset for a while now. But the excuse thing, I still struggle with a lot, because I'm trying to, if you really like pay attention to how you talk to yourself and you're self-aware, you can very much tell yourself, like while you're talking to yourself, you'll realize everything is an excuse. And so like, I'll be like at the gym, I'm like, oh, that girl's cute, let me go talk to her. And then I'll start making up the most bullshit excuses. And then like, before I would like let them slide, I would be like, yeah, that makes sense, that's justifiable. And then now, because I've understood that everything that's in between you and the thing that you want, like that, whatever the barriers are all excuses, because they're all just in your head probably, right? So I'll be like, oh, my outfit isn't that good, oh, my pump isn't that good, oh, I don't smell the best, oh, I need to pump it for, like, I make the most stupid ass excuses when I'm like at the gym and I see a cute girl, right? It's like, all I have to do is go talk to that girl. I've talked to girls before, I've talked to humans before, I'm able to talk. It's like, for me to go up to her and just talk is a very simple concept. But all these little barriers that I made in my head putting like the barrier between me and talking to that girl is all in my head, and it's all bullshit excuses. So it's like I'm trying to really get past that and try to just do things. Like if I want to go talk to that girl, just go talk to her. Like no time to just sit there and think about all the excuses, because the longer you take to do it, the more the bigger the barrier becomes, which is just the barrier just made up of bullshit excuses that you tell yourself, right? So that's why there's like that method where it's like, as soon as you tell yourself to go do something, say 3, 2, 1, and just go do it. Because the longer you sit there, the more excuses you make. So, and I do this for a lot of things. Like I'll be like, yo, I need to go do this homework. And then like, you know, you sit on your phone and then you just start scrolling and you're like, oh, I need to go do my homework. And you just keep scrolling, or you go eat some food. Like you just start, and you start telling yourself like, oh, I'm too bored to do it right now. Oh, I'm too hungry to do it now. And then you just keep making up all this, like, all you have to go do is do your homework. Why are you telling yourself all this little bullshit in between, only delaying the fact that like if you truly need to get that thing done, you're gonna have to get it done now or later, it doesn't matter. All this little bullshit that you tell yourself in the middle is only delaying you from doing it. So you're just wasting more and more time. And so I'm trying to really adjust my mind to just whatever the outcome is that I want, the input is normally relatively simple. So how can I compress the timeline for me to get from the input to the outcome? I just have to follow that, you know, input to outcome. And the only thing standing in between is typically my head, my brain, making all these excuses. So I'm trying to eliminate that whole idea of excuses. And I think once I get past that, like once I get past the idea of making excuses for myself, because now that I'm actively aware that these are all excuses and they're all in my head, I can eventually just start, oh, that's an excuse. Oh, that's an excuse. Oh, that's an excuse. And just go do what I have to do. And as soon as I start doing, once I start building up this like system within myself where it's like, I recognize it as an excuse, so I go do the thing anyway, I think I'll become so much more productive, or I'll achieve my goals a lot faster, because I'm not, instead of extending the timeline, I'm compressing it, because now there's no time in between to waste. And I think it's a very good key factor that I need to get implemented in my own system. And I think you guys should do that as well, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to be successful. We all want to achieve our goals. We all want to stop wasting time. We want to be productive. And to do that, we need to have no barriers in between the things that we want and the things that we need to do. And typically it's just excuses. So stop making excuses.